leadership positions from the electricity team, the urban team, the developing economies team, all kind of helping advance. And I wanted to give the floor here to Third Derivative and the Breakthrough Tech team to talk a little bit about how they're wrestling with diversity, equity, and inclusion and justice in their current work. Brian, over to you.
Yeah, thanks for that, John. Super inspired by all these success stories we're hearing. And maybe as a bit of a counterbalance, to bring a little humility to wrap us up here, I want to share actually some ways in which we're failing over and over again on the Third Derivative team and our efforts around justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. For those of you who are new to RMI, Third Derivative is actually a startup within RMI. So as a startup, it's actually part of our MO to fail. Startups are learning machines. We have to be honest that we don't know the answers. We're in a constant search for them. And as such, we embrace the culture of experimentation with a high bias for action. As our COO, Grant, would say, don't talk about it, be about it. So I'd like to share some of what we've been trying, how we've been failing, learning, and we've got a lot of failure coming at you in just a few minutes. So strap in. JEDI for us starts with building our team, right? And so several months ago, we launched an intentional initiative to build out more diverse perspectives on our team. Not as a trade-off. I mean, the data is very clear that diverse teams significantly outperform homogenous ones. And we've had some success there, and some along dimensions that are pretty obvious and maybe some that are not so obvious. Shout out to Nicole Martin for helping us figure out, using the DISC assessment, that actually we had a very homogenous work style on our team. And here a couple months later, we've actually built some more balance, very intentionally, but still with room to grow. And in the last few months, we've built a really awesome team that I'm incredibly proud of. It's done amazing things in an incredibly short amount of time. And it still isn't the global diverse rainbow of representation that we aspire to. So we still have a long ways to go. As everyone knows, it's not enough to build the team. You also have to create an inclusive environment in which everyone can thrive. And so we measure that anonymously, and we're failing here. We have team members who tell us that they cannot be their full authentic selves, that they do not feel psychologically safe. And that's a failure I take very personally as the leader of this team. We have a lot of work to do. And we've been building kind of space for people to share learned experiences, create human interaction in this time of everyone being remote, and actually build empathy among our teammates, which is hard work. It's been very well received, but too often that hard work falls disproportionately on the shoulders of our BIPOC team members. So that's a fail. We've decentered our language that we use to talk about different regions around the world. We've invited guests from the climate justice community and social justice community to help us diversify our perspectives. We've even built a structure to help us prioritize and execute on our top JEDI priorities. And stop me if you've heard this before, everyone feels overburdened, everyone feels very busy. And so literally all of our JEDI initiatives and priorities are falling behind. So we're failing pretty hard at our internal operations. But we also believe that our biggest opportunity for impact is embedding JEDI in our mission, so it scales with our impact. And we're incredibly proud that our first outreach to startups around the world resulted in more than 600 startups applying to more than 60 countries around the world, with more than 2/3 of the teams having historically underrepresented founders on the team. We went beyond that as we were selecting startups to bring into our cohort, and ensured to address some of our biases, that every team with historically underrepresented founders automatically got a second look. And as a consequence, we built the world's largest cohort of climate tech startups that still looks pretty homogenous. A lot of white dudes from elite universities, very heavily weighted in North America. So we're asking ourselves now, are we actually being constrained by the dominant systems? When we say a startup isn't investable, is that purely viewed through the lens of a Silicon Valley paradigm that really is meant to concentrate wealth in the hands of a privileged few? If we really look hard, are we actually perpetuating those dominant systems? If we really succeed, our startups are going to generate great returns that are going to help a number of mostly white, mostly male people who are already pretty rich get a little bit richer. And is that really the most effective way to build the sustainable, prosperous, equitable energy future? So we're failing in our mission too. But as a startup, we would never let failure dissuade us from consistently, raising our aspirations. And so we have a few major initiatives that we're working on right now, the first of which is expanding our very biased networks. Right now, we're engaged with 3 women-led or women-owned VC investment firms, and we're seeking to engage with more than 40 venture organizations that represent or work with BIPOC and women entrepreneurs. All that's in service of launching our first JEDI-oriented climate tech startup cohort later this year. And here again, that's not a trade-off. I mean, yes, we want to lift everyone up. Yes, we think it's the right thing to do. And the data show us very clearly that actually the returns will be higher by investing in more diverse startups. We're also decentering our support right now. We need to be able to support startups outside of North America in the same equitable way that we support startups in North America. So we're trying to focus on their unique experiences and build out local capabilities, local networks, so we can support everyone equitably. Most interestingly, we're actually trying to disrupt the venture capital funding model, finding ways to innovate and flow capital, flow returns to more startups, to flow capital to our community partners kind of throughout the world, and especially communities where that are most vulnerable to climate change. So if I can leave you with just one thing, it's we're failing. We're learning as well, and we don't know the answers, but we are deadly committed to the search.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. Thanks to the D3 team for sharing with us your failure, right? And your determination to bring, the best of diversity into everything that we do and how we work to build global change at RMI.